One of the things I couldn't wait to talk with you about is the paradox of human beings. You say we humans are so small yet so great, so strong yet so weak. We rise so high and we sink so low. We are body and we are spirit. We are mortal. We are immortal. We have. You just go through all these different things. Can you just talk about that for a little bit? Like, what is the paradox of human beings, and why is it important to think about it and consider it?
Well, you take, say, something like Hamlet's speech in the play after his own name. You have the same thing. Humanity is quite extraordinary, as I say in the book. We can build amazing cathedrals and skyscrapers, and we can build death camps and kill millions of people. It's the same people. We can be cruel, we can be generous. What is it about humanity? Well, you can see in the biblical understanding, we are created, as Psalm 8 shows us very clearly, midpoint between the Lord and the rest of creation. So we are made, and we're unique, made in the image of God. But if you think, we are God-like, but we're never God. And when we try to be God, it's disastrous. But we're only God-like, because actually we're partly like animals too. But when we forget the God-like part and behave like animals, the naked ape, the selfish gene, and so on, we behave abominably. And you can see in the scriptural understanding, there are two ways in which people break out of that midpoint, which is our uniqueness. There's an upward thrust. We're like God, we want to be God. I and who but I, and so on. Heine, the poet in Germany, called Karl Marx, whom he disliked, a godless self-god. And in a way, that's an incredible description of modern people. Godless self-gods. With science, technology, reason, we can break up and be God himself in our lives. Or other people want to break down. The upward thrust is through mastery. Reason, science, technology. If you think of the Bible, whole civilization of Egypt. But the other thrust is downwards, and that's Canaan. In other words, merging with nature. Wild frenzy, not Apollo of the Greeks, but Dionysus. And you can see that today. We just want to behave. Don't all the animals behave sexually freely? Well, why shouldn't we? And so on. So you can see there's a paradox of humanity. And we're always trying to break out of it, upwards or downwards.
This is fantastic. If every day we can just meet for an hour and I can just listen to you talk, this would be this would be fantastic. As you wrote in this one line, and I'm curious if there's anything you're learning in your season of life. You say, "For all but very few of us, there will be almost no evidence that we have ever been here." Which to a 41-year-old, that just seems impossible to fathom, because I'm accomplishing great things, I'm building this, and I'm making a name for myself, and yet that sobering truth of very few of us will be remembered. In your own life, is there something that you're coming to terms with? Is there anything that you think about personally for yourself when you hear a line like that? To think that Os Guinness could very soon have very little. Yeah. What does that stir up in your soul?
One of my favorite books is Carpe Diem, which is on a Christian view of time. Because, I came across YOLO many years ago, the idea you only live once. And people who followed that crazy philosophy forgot that the original way of putting it was, you only live once, if then. In other words, we only go around once and life is pretty short. So you've got to be very clear about what you're doing and know what the purpose of it all is. Now, as we grow up, there's a moment for all of us in which we come to realize, I am I. In other words, we're born with a flooding sense of oneness with our mother. We come from our mother's womb. We're one with her, and then our family and so on. But then we realize we're separate individuals. But there's another point a little later at which people come to realize, I am I, and I won't be here forever. And that's where you can either deny it or kind of defy it and live life as if it's what's an immortality project, like a individual version of the grand pyramids of Egypt and so on. Now, when someone's 20, you're 41, you said. Someone 21, they're immortal. But get into your 30s, 40s, early 50s, you can hear the rapids round so many bends of the river that are coming. Now, I'm a lot older than that, and I'm ready to go to be with the Lord. But as you grow older, you realize I'm not going to be here forever. What does it all add up to? Now, there's a lot of people in this country talk about legacy. You get to 50, you've got to think, what's my legacy that I know I have done? Here is my worth, and I'm handing it on to my son or my daughter. I think that's rubbish, a kind of a humanist immortality project. Legacy will be when we meet the Lord face to face. So we followed his call all our lives, which means we haven't seen him, we've heard him, the call. But when we die, that's not the end, that's the next phase. We will see the caller. And if he says to us, well done, good and faithful servant, Adam, John, Joe, Jill, whatever, that's real legacy, but we won't know it until we see him face to face. And I think when that time comes, we think of the heroes. I've known Winston Churchill, Billy Graham, some of the great titans of the last century. But who knows when we get to heaven? You'll be some little lazy from Mississippi who in the kingdom of God is greater than Billy because of her faithfulness and prayers. We don't know that now. One day we will.